press conference where we are launching the PlantPure Communities Restaurant Campaign. I'm Jody Kass. I am the Executive Director of PlantPure Communities. And just thank everyone for being here today. Whether you're with us in person or you're watching this live stream, welcome. Welcome. It's a very, very special day for us today. We're going to be launching something very, very exciting. We think it has a tremendous opportunity to save lives and really have a tremendous impact on the world. I want to start out by just sharing some fairly alarming statistics. About 2,200 Americans die of cardiovascular disease each day, an average of 1 death every 40 seconds. About 92 million American adults are living with some form of cardiovascular disease or after effects of stroke. The costs of cardiovascular disease and stroke are estimated to total more than $316 billion in healthcare expenditures and lost productivity. Nearly half of all black adults have some form of cardiovascular disease, 47% of women and 46% of men. Worldwide, we are looking at approximately 350 million people with diabetes. Americans pay more per capita for healthcare. The U.S. spent 17.1% of its GDP on healthcare in 2013. This was almost 50% more, 50% more than the next highest spender, which was France, at 11.6% of their GDP, and almost double what was spent in the UK, which was at 8.8%. Today, nearly half of all Americans are on some form of prescribed medication. That's why we're here today. That's what we're talking about. That's what this campaign is all about. That's what we're focused on. We want to make change. So who are we? What is PlantPure Communities? PlantPure Communities was created by Nelson Campbell. There he is, Nelson. Nelson's going to chat in a bit. He'll be speaking shortly. Nelson is the son of Dr. T. Colin Campbell, the famous Dr. Campbell, the author of the China Study. We'll be hearing from him as well shortly. PlantPure Communities is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It was created in early 2016. We're almost 2 years old. Our mission is to spread the health message about the scientific research which was conducted by T. Colin Campbell, much of which is in the China Study. We are building a grassroots movement. Already we have a reach of over 45,000 people and approximately 460 groups, also known as pods, that are connected to the PlantPure Communities pod network. So what is the PlantPure Communities restaurant campaign? Our goal is very simple. Our goal is to get every restaurant across America and also even across the globe to offer at least one meal on their menu that has no animal products and no oil. That's right, no oil, no kind of oil at all. And you'll hear more about that, hopefully, from Dr. Campbell. This is very doable. That's right. This has come a long way, this campaign already. We already know that 6% of the U.S. population now identifies as vegan. That's compared to 1% just in 2014. 30% of Americans are looking to leave meat off of their plates. Those are the non-vegans even. So there is a growing need and a growing momentum. It's all coming together. Today is the day when things are going to start to really change. We're going to take this to a whole another level. We started this campaign about 6 months ago at PlantPure Communities, led by Caroline Dyer, where we have created a virtual toolkit which supports this whole PlantPure Communities campaign. It has information in there for restaurant owners and restaurant managers on how to relatively easily take meat out of their menu and take oil out of their menu. Thank you very much to Kim Campbell, who has shared a wonderful piece in our toolkit on exactly how to get the oil out of the menu. Yay, Kim! You're not here today. And there's lots of other resources as well in that toolkit for restaurant owners and managers. In addition, the toolkit has information for pods, the groups, those 45,000 plus folks who are part of groups who are connected to our pod network. Those are the folks who are now leading the charge, and there's lots of information in those virtual toolkits on how do you pick a restaurant that might make sense. How do you take that conversation with the waiter that all of us have all the time about how do you make that meal that looks interesting on the menu and turn it into something that's not going to hurt your heart or hurt your diabetes. There's a roadmap in our toolkit that actually takes you from that conversation and turns it into a menu item. So in addition to there's also information, once the restaurant does make a change, there's information there on how to help the restaurant owner turn that into a listing on Happy Cow or other apps, and also how you can support, how folks in the community who are interested in getting healthier sources, healthier meals on the menu, how can they support it by sending letters to the editor and things like that. So we are quite serious. We're trying to hit all the bases. We did start a pilot phase about 3 months ago. We had about a dozen pods, some of whom are here today, who have taken the lead in helping us test out the toolkit. We have tightened the meal standard. We've tightened a bunch of other things within the toolkit, so we are ready to rock and roll today. With that, I want to just say that I think we have about, I think it's a little over a dozen restaurants across the country who have already made the change and adding onto their menu at least one item with no animal products and no oil. In New York, in California, in Florida, and Virginia. And today we're here at PS Kitchen. Thank you very much, PS Kitchen, for hosting us. And our newest recipient of a PlantPure Communities restaurant campaign. So where is Jeff? Come on over, Jeff. You want to hold this?
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll just do a quick photo with you.
Sure. Yeah.
And then we'll ask you to say a few words.
There you go.
Okay, so here you go.
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank
We hope you'll put it up on your wall, and,
Yes.
and we hope it'll bring you lots and lots more people.
Yeah.
And with that, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, just excited to have everyone here and be a part of this beautiful event. Learned a lot in the last couple weeks about PlantPure Communities and about cooking oil-free and making oil-free things, and I actually realized that being able to do that here at the restaurant is going to be pretty easy for us. So we're excited to participate and be a part of it. And yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for being at PS Kitchen today.
Okay, you heard it. He said it's not too hard. He said that's pretty easy, right? It was a little scary at first, but he said it's pretty easy. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nelson Campbell, our visionary for all that PlantPure Communities does.
All right, thank you, Jody. But first of all, there's a big gap here. John, you're supposed to be up here.
Where's John?
Oh,
Yeah, you know,
I was going live.
Come on. Here, let me.
Come here, John.
I always thought that I was a pretty tall guy, but you know, this just proves that everything in the universe is relative, just like Einstein said. But anyways, yeah, I'm real excited about this restaurant campaign. You know, a lot of times we turn on the TV and we watch the evening news and we fixate on things that are happening outside the communities where we live. And I don't know about you, but these days I was kind of scared to turn on the TV. I've been trying to ignore it. I think that the things that are oftentimes most important are right at home. And just being able to go out and go to a restaurant and have a plant-based option is so important. You know, most people don't like to cook these days, and we all do it. We all eat out a lot. And it's always a huge issue. Where am I going to go to eat? So this is a big deal. And the other thing I've noticed too going across the country is I feel like people are yearning to be involved. They're yearning to get connected with their communities. So this is a way for people to do that. This is a way that you can make a difference. So we hope that everyone watching this in this room here, but also across the internet, that you go to plantpurecommunities.org and check it out. There's materials there that you can take to your local restaurant and get involved, and get other people in your community involved as well to help spread the news, the message.
That's great. Thank you, Nelson. And with that, we are going to hear from Dr. T. Colin Campbell.
Thank you very much, Jody. Wow.
I'm just making sure we get good light on the program.
You're tall enough to do it.
Yes, I'm your light guy.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jody, very much, and thank you, Nelson, for having the vision to put this on. I think it's a very exciting day. I'm really thrilled about it. I started this journey now professionally over 60 years ago. I'm working on my 62nd year. And so I got into this at that time, though, with a very different view of food and health, fish oil. Many of you know this. And it was exactly the opposite what this has come to be. And I think it gave to me some advantage, I might suggest, is at least looking back on it, because I didn't believe this kind of thing. I never thought I would have believed this, quite frankly. But through the years, with lots of students and colleagues and so forth in academia, if you will, doing experimental research that was funded by the National Institutes of Health for the most part, we did a lot of really basic research. My challenge was to see if, in fact, something I had seen that seemed opposite what I thought, to see whether or not it was true. And to work at it at a very fundamental level in the laboratory. That's what we did. So we got into research, that's who I am, and that's what we did. And just to see if, in fact, this odd observation that I thought I saw was real. So we got into things like, you know, trying to figure out how does this work, and we did all the stuff that scientists do, to be honest about it, and published it. And so I finally got to a point that this is real at every level. It's real as far as personal health is concerned. It turns out it's real as far as, let's say, our societies are concerned. It's real as far as our planet is concerned, environmental issues and that sort of thing. So the idea for me now has become so big. And one of the things that I feel all the time is that this has got to be the greatest idea in health, and in scientific health, that I think has come along in probably decades, if not in centuries. It was known to some extent by the ancient Greeks, to be honest about it. But somehow our modern society got on a course that in fact didn't respect it, what it should be respected. So I think, Jody, what you're doing here is probably one of the most key things to do. And that is to show people how to prepare the food. A lot of people don't want to get into the scientific weeds that I've been in, but they want to know how to do it. Restaurants is a good place to start. So I think it's a really great concept. As far as my definition of this after all these years is concerned, I call it a whole food plant-based diet, that vegetables, fruits, grains, all of you know this sort of thing. There's one key element in this discussion that I think is important to keep in mind, and that is the question concerning added oil. The salad oil is used in isolated oils in cooking and that sort of thing. In part because for any of you in the scientific area, the oils we tend to use, especially a great deal of the oils, is actually pro-inflammatory. So it can actually encourage the development of diseases, something like animal-based foods. So the whole food plant-based diet is, as I said, is vegetables, variety of vegetables and that sort of thing, without dumping a lot of oil on it or without putting it into the recipes and that sort of thing. So getting the restaurants involved, I think, is a great idea. I think we all go to restaurants and it's sometimes hard, but you know, getting this out at that level is going to, I think, really be helpful in advancing those larger issues concerning how do we get to know this, how do we share this with our friends elsewhere, and get on board and make it happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. And with that, we're going to hear from John, the famous John Salley.
Isn't that correct? So, hey, I'm here to announce that Dr. Campbell is my dad. See what happens when you don't eat vegetables? When you don't eat meat, your kids come out like you planned it. Nelson came out great. Nelson and I had breakfast this morning at a vegan restaurant called Blossom du Jour. That's how you get a little bit of pump up in the east side. And he liked it. And I don't think they had any oil in it, if they had, right? I told him and his wonderful wife that ever since I was about to put out my book, because I've done all this cooking, and every time there's something else changed, there's something else changed. Now it's perfect. There's no oil in it. There's going to be foods that you can taste. I have a lot of seasons in it. It took me 20 years to make the book, though, because I keep changing up. But I'm trying to get as young as he and his wife. 62 years you've been talking about it. That's amazing. I started this path when I was in the 90s, and my teammates thought I was crazy, which I am. Crazy about this plant-based diet. That's what I'm crazy about. And as I told this wonderful man right here, Nelson, he was like, okay, where you want to fit in? And so we talked about the Oasis plan. We talked about how he was going to be bringing food into food deserts. That's something I can be a part of. Whole Foods that I helped open in Detroit was a food desert, and I think that Whole Foods is the #1 Whole Foods in the country now. So obviously, there's places, and those people have disposable income. They just spend it on fast foods. So if we change the thought of it, we change and we get them to see exactly what it is. If this is a nice way of telling people you should go plant-based by going to their favorite restaurant. Thank you, PS, for being a juggernaut for this. And just that mentality. Have at least one thing on the menu that I can go in and eat, so everybody around eating dead flesh can feel really bad. And go, what do you have? That's what happens every time I do it. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you don't put any added fat, olive oil on top of my stuff. I like this lifestyle. This lifestyle works for me, and it will work for you too. Now, if you don't think it will work for you, you're crazy and wrong, and probably diseased from the animals you're eating in your breakfast. But anyway, Plant Strong, and tonight we're going to have a great time. You're doing all the work, all the heavy lifting.
Well, we're a group of us.
Group of us. All right. Well, Jody.
Including you.
Including me, I'm here. I'm filming, so I'm going to go sit back in the audience so I can get this filmed properly.
All right, John.
All right,
Way to go, John.
With that, I'm going to introduce Natasha Spearman-Isip. She is one of our superstars on staff from Staten Island. Come on over, Natasha.
Natasha.
Just never thought that something like this would ever happen. We went vegetarian in '88, raised the kids in Staten Island, New York, home of cheese and sauce and lots of it. I can't believe that I started a pod. When I first heard about the restaurant pilot, and I said, oh yeah, let's do that. And I looked and I listened and I said, no, I can't do that. But for some strange reason, a new restaurant opened up. The chef was trained in Milan, and we had conversations, let's just say that. We had many conversations. We said, I can do vegetarian, I don't believe in vegan. People don't know how to eat, they don't know, they can't. You know, that's why they are where they are. So we went back, and we went back, and I looked at his menu, and I said, but look, you have these 2 soups, and sure enough, I said, do you use animal broth in this? He said, no. And I said, do you put cheese in it? He said, well, I can leave it out. And I said, how do you saute the vegetables? In oil. Okay, well, just leave out the oil. I don't know, but he did, and it's wonderful. So Vinum in Staten Island, New York, which is a wine bar, actually was the first one in New York City to receive the certificate. Surprised me, surprised him. From the country.
Let's all go there.
There's only 9 seats. There's a small restaurant.
Not all at once.
Fabulous. Yeah, not all at once. He is fabulous. And yeah, Massimo he was right on board.
Awesome.
So this was, yeah, Massimo. Really, it was wonderful. So it's a great experience. You learn as you go. I think I went 4 or 5 times. Wrote them up in Facebook, you know, just push the envelope a bit more. And after him, I got another restaurant on board who had been doing this quietly for a number of years. But so quiet because nobody in Staten Island would even think about doing this, right? Very, very quiet. So they were our second ones. So again, it surprised me, and lo and behold, here we are.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Natasha, superstar. And now we're going to hear from Mitch Castell from the Long Island Pod. Mitch is my go-to guy on anything about pods. He has done an amazing job with the Long Island Pod. So, Mitch Castell.